Wash Simulator. It's exactly what it sounds like.
Back to Google.
It's exactly what it sounds like. It is amazing. The first level is you have a dirty van for your power washing company, and you just have to power wash it.
From fabulous Las Vegas, Nevada, this is Pod Therapy. Real people, real problems, and real therapists. You can submit your questions anonymously at podtherapy.net or email us at podtherapyguys@gmail.com. Hi, Dirty B. Thanks for sponsoring the show. And now, broadcasting from the churn, that guy's Dr. Jim Jobin. I'm Nick Tangeman. It's time for some Pod Therapy.
With freshly popped ears, thanks to the Odo Vent by Menon. I don't know if it's by
It's not by Menon.
Okay.
It's definitely not.
I feel like it needs a jingle, so
No.
it helps. If you'd like to hear my miracle cure for my ears and hear me demonstrate it on the show, patreon.com/therapy. Also, I want Power Wash Simulator to sponsor the show. I think you'd love it. I really do.
I don't know.
You get different nozzles for your power washer, and then you just pressure wash, and you get jobs. And every time you do a job, you get some money.
For those
and then
of you
you can go
just
back and
joining
buy
us,
soap.
Jim is talking about a video game.
Yeah, it's called Power Wash Simulator. So the first level's a van. So you have to do the van.
Have you ever power washed in real life?
Yes. And it
Okay.
is a hell of a lot of fun.
I would not have guessed that.
No. Well, all right, look. A power wash lives at my house. I may not have been the one who did much of it, but I have used it. And it's pretty cool. But yeah, dude, I love that thing on concrete. That was amazing.
Yeah, I mean, when I went back to Iowa this past May to help my mom do some cleaning and stuff.
Added
and
floors.
I changed a door, swapped out a door.
Yeah.
I did borrow a friend's power washer and power washed the driveway, the sidewalk, side of the house.
Yep.
Some
I
brick
remember you telling me
brick
about
that
this.
she had around the
It was
house.
very satisfying.
No, the first 45 minutes
Yeah.
was satisfying. The next 4.5 hours, not as much.
All right, that's why the video game works, okay? 45 minutes, you could just clean up the level, save your progress, walk away. And whenever you get your money from completing jobs, you go to the little power wash store, and then you get like soaps and different nozzles so you could do different things.
You know what one of my favorite video games was on a PC? It was called Theme Hospital.
What? What is that?
It was so much fun, and it was like a sim game.
Okay.
But I think like the theme was like a ripoff of Sim. Like The Sims was like, brand name.
So
Sim City,
okay.
all that. But it was Theme Hospital.
Yeah.
So basically you're a hospital administrator. And so you get this little outline of a building, and then you square it off like, okay, this is where the exam room's going to be.
Okay.
This is where we're going to put our
it.
MRI. This is going to be the front desk.
Uh-huh.
And so then you have to staff it.
Oh, cool.
And then so you're like, oh, no one's coming to your hospital because it's too dirty. So you need to hire custodians.
This is
So
awesome.
then you hire custodians, and then you
gotta watch your overhead.
You've got general practitioner doctors.
That's funny.
And then you're like, oh, well, you can get a specialist. You can hire a specialist.
And here's how much money they'll bring in.
Yeah, or you can hire somebody who is also a teacher. So then they're specialists, and then they teach other doctors.
That's funny.
And so
You're
it was
running your own hospital.
Yeah, it was a really fun game. But this is back in this would have been 2001.
So there's a series of games that follows that paradigm now. They usually end with Tycoon.
Yeah, Roller Coaster Tycoon.
Yep,
and all
Zoo
that.
Tycoon, Lemonade Stand Tycoon.
Yeah.
And they're all really popular. My daughter was playing one, Zoo Tycoon. Same thing. You got a whole big open plot of land, put attractions, put paths, put food and grate the gates and all the, trying to create the ideal zoo.
Mm-hmm.
I love this kind of stuff, which is hilarious because that's also a real job.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's just that's what appeals to me at my age now. It's I want to power wash things, but I don't want to do my own power washing. I don't want to do chores.
Yeah.
Don't credit that to your age.
Yeah, you think that's just
This is just you.
Okay. There's also another one called Goat Simulator.
Oh, I've heard of Goat
Yeah,
Simulator.
You're just a goat.
Yeah.
You just walk around as a goat. That's the whole game. You can walk in a farm.
Sounds bad.
You can walk.
Ah.
Yeah, the sheep, I believe, would be. Do goats baa?
They definitely do.
All right, that's fine.
Yeah.
So Goat Simulator is pretty damn cool, but there's a lot of simulators. There's Farm Simulator.
Yep,
I think you dig.
My
that
nephew
one.
had Farm Simulator.
It's actually really cool. I'm watching all this equipment and stuff.
Oh
My
shit!
son
Did you
does
guys hear that?
No.
You didn't just hear that just now on your headphones?
No.
Everybody leaving?
It was everybody hitting the stop button at the same time.
You're saying-
fuck, guys, we can talk about anything we want now.
They all left.
They all left.
They all
Nobody's
left.
listening now.
All
Oh,
listeners
man.
have left.
Finally, we can get into our JFK.
Oh, this is
theories.
great.
I've been waiting to get to this. All right, fine. We'll answer questions. Since nobody gives a shit about my favorite video games. All right, first question. Learning about boundaries from Anonymous. Hi, Pod Therapy. Boundaries have become a buzzword among my friends, and I know this is broad, but can you talk about boundary setting and what it looks like and ways to manage them? In my case, I have had friends who have stopped talking and hanging out with me as much, and they keep posting things like, I'm trying to be more intentional with my time and relationships. If people don't respect your boundaries and growth, then they aren't your friends. I want to be supportive of a boundary, but I feel like there's a nicer way to say to me, you aren't worth my time anymore, than just ghosting me and not saying anything. I don't think making a boundary means you get to be irreverent to someone else's feelings, but maybe I'm wrong. Post-lockdowns, I feel like I didn't recognize any of my friendships anymore. It seemed like everyone started realizing how crappy they were living their life and wanted to change it. But the changes have been so sudden and large that I don't know how to navigate. Friendships that normally would have faded ended abruptly, without telling me. So I went on thinking everything was fine and making excuses for their behaviors, only to find out that they decided not to tell me about their boundaries. I've tried to be communicative on my end, but it's led to me being gaslit. I know y'all don't like that word. They would tell me everything's fine, and then there'd be no change, even though there was. As always, thanks for all y'all do. Reese, she and her.
Thank you, Reese.
I mean, good news is it's super simple. You're going to want to go down to the Tractor Supply store. You want to get some posts and some rolls of barbed wire.
This is how you build a boundary.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then you set up that fence.
Yep.
You bury those posts good. I'd say put a little concrete down in the hole and then put the post down.
In each post?
I mean,
that's a lot of work.
If you want it to last forever, you do.
Mix your own concrete?
Yeah.
You gotta get a wheelbarrow.
I mean, you just get a wheelbarrow. You mix it up. You pour a little bit down in the hole.
All right.
You put the post down there. You make sure it's level. Make sure it's level. Don't skip that.
No rookie
Take
mistakes.
the level.
Get the level.
And put it out there. Let the concrete set up. Put the dirt back in the hole.
Back in there.
And then put the barbed wire out. And boom, no more cows getting away.
Get the boundary. That'll keep your friends out of your backyard.
There's an easier way, which is just to have
not if you have cows.
To have weak boundaries.
Oh, okay.
Which
so
is
like
just
chicken wire.
I was gonna say spray paint.
Spray paint. Okay.
Just draw a
Tell
line.
the cows they're not allowed to leave.
Yes.
Hey,
Yes.
those things work on the street though. What are those things that make horses and cows not walk over them? It looks like a grate.
Fences.
Yeah.
No, you know what I'm talking
Grate,
about?
yeah.
It's a
Oh,
grate.
cattle
Yeah.
grate.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
so weird. Like they're terrified of it. I don't know, because like you step on it, I guess it's like a hollow sound.
Well, because they've got hooves that fall between.
Yeah.
that can't be the reason they don't go in there.
They're afraid they will.
Oh, okay. Because
Yeah.
I
They
don't
see it
think-
as
cows are too valuable to just break all their fucking ankles to
Right.
stop them from leaving.
But that's what the cow is
They'll
afraid
only
will
do
happen.
it once.
Yeah.
My cousin Vinny tried that in '82. Don't do it. You break them off.
So, Reese, I don't know as if a whole lot of this has to do with boundaries. This just seems kind of petty.
Yeah,
As
some
far
of
as-
that. This
like the
internet
whole thing,
is
like
so
posting.
petty.
I hate that.
Yeah.
Somebody posts something really like cryptic on Facebook, and it's just like
I don't have time
it.
for
No,
toxic
yeah.
people in my
All
life.
that is, hey, everybody, look at me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've
know-
got something to say.
You know where this
because
happens
it's
all
like-
the time?
Where?
LinkedIn, where people post like weird shit about bosses, and like clearly their bosses can see that, but the shit's like a great boss will always reward their best and punish the worst. Nothing will lose your best employees faster than watching you tolerate a bad one. Like that shit is so passive aggressive.
I'm not on
so
LinkedIn.
weird.
No.
Yeah, you're
I'm
better
not-
off for
I
it.
mean, I'm on it, but I'm never looking at it. But
I'm
like,
on it for
you
5
see
minutes.
this stuff all the time. I mean, I used to see this all the time on Facebook, but I'm rarely on Facebook anymore, and this is part of the reason why, is because people post just random stuff like that,
Yeah.
just like that. They know they're not giving you enough information
Right.
to know what's going on, and that's intentional because they want you to ask.
Right.
Ask me what's going on.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nah.
Yeah.
Click that
I-
like
yeah,
button.
exactly. I never do either.
Nah.
It's like, no, I don't care. Yeah, that's.
Yeah.
If you wanted me to know, you'd have told me.
Yep.
Boundaries has become, I think, a buzzword. That is true.
I've become a really difficult person to deal with if you're being passive aggressive. Because because I'll just let it go.
Yeah.
Don't care.
I do a whole lot of not giving a shit.
Oh, boy, I'm having a tough day.
Mm,
Oh, okay.
yep.
All right, well, I'll see you tomorrow.
Yeah.
Tell you what.
So,
That's funny.
yeah. So anyway, I guess what I'm kind of getting at is it does seem like, I don't know as if this has to do a whole lot with boundaries, because it almost kind of sounds like boundaries are just kind of the excuse, because boundaries are something that the person should know about.
Yeah.
Yes.
So like it's pointless to have a boundary and then the person doesn't know that they've even broken it.
Right.
At that point, you're just looking for an excuse to break up the relationship.
That's a different thing.
Yeah.
Which I think is a valid thing, because there's a lot of people that are like, hey, I've stopped associating with people that I didn't feel they had a healthy lifestyle and it was dragging me down.
Yeah.
Fine. And I also don't expect you to make an announcement about that. You
Yeah.
know, I don't expect you to walk over to them and go, hey guys, I'm going to be less available because I think that, you're all snorting lines of coke and I don't want to do that or whatever. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. You're kind of downers. You're negative people. I'm trying to be a positive person. And so obviously that'd be pretentious and horrible. Right. So that almost sounds like what this person's doing is like, it's like quiet quitting from relationships. Like
Yeah.
they're just kind of like easing back. Which, again, I'm not against, and I think it's a form of boundary
Well, because
setting.
I guess I always think of boundaries as in like a boundary is something I'm going to put in place in order to keep a relationship going.
This is how I'm available to be
Yeah,
treated in
not-
a relationship.
Yeah, not to end
Exclude,
a relationship, right?
right.
Because if that's the case, then you just end the relationship. You don't have to set a boundary. You're just it's done.
Reese, that almost sounds like kind of what's happening to you. I get the impression that from your stories, people are kind of quiet quitting from relationships. And then whenever you follow up with them and go, hey, are we cool? There's like, yeah. And then she says, like, that's the gaslighting piece is like, oh, no, we're great. And it's like, okay, it feels like you're not available. And it's like, no, we're completely fine. And then they disappear, which I don't know if I'm that friend, Reese, and I don't want to hang out with you and you ask me if everything's okay. I'm going to say everything's okay. I mean, Jacob probably won't, but, I'm going to say everything's fine. Like, Jim, are you mad at me? No, we're good.
Yeah.
Yay. Like, and then I'm just going to quietly.
Do you want to hang out? Nope.
If you don't want to hang out with somebody, and you're not going to be impolite, right, Jacob? If somebody called you and was like, hey, man, haven't gotten a hold of you in a long time, and you're like, oh, I don't want to be friends with you. Like, you wouldn't tell them that. You just politely make an excuse for why you haven't hung out with them, right?
I'm a human being.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm a functioning member of society.
That's what I'm saying. I was on that side. I was just clarifying for the
Agree to
audience.
disagree.
Let's role play this, Jim. You call me up.
Ring, ring.
Hello.
Hey, Jacob, it's me, Jim from Pod Therapy.
Jim, how are you, buddy?
Wow, you've never asked me that before. God.
It was politeness. Next, keep going.
Oh, sorry. I was thinking we should hang out. Anytime. What are you up to now? Jacob, click, 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 click. All the people born in the 80s understood that bit. Dial tone. So Reese, I think what we're trying to tell you is, look, I don't want to say it's you. I mean, your people that are surrounding you are pulling away. I mean, I think that you've got to take that as a signal. I think whenever people seem to be busy elsewhere or going in new directions, friendships are fluid. And whenever that's happening, I guess you have to take the social cue. I don't look at that as I agree with Nick. I think boundaries, the way I like to think of the word boundary is to tell another person what kind of relationship you are available for. Yes, I think you can have an exclusionary kind of setting where it's like, hey, I think I want this person involved in my life less and less. And so like, I'm going to signal that and I'm going to be unavailable. I'm going to offer silence. But then if I then get on Facebook and like talk about, what a great guy I am by excluding everybody else, it just seems like such a douchebag thing to do.
Yeah.
I just don't see the value of that.
Here's the other thing too. Just be careful, Reese, to not attribute meaning to this.
It's attribute, but go on.
No, we've had this discussion before.
Yeah, you're just wrong.
We've had this exact discussion. Jacob and I have had this exact talk with you.
An attribute is a noun. Attribute is a verb.
No, this is just a tribute.
I'm gonna throw something.
No, please don't.
Something heavy. Okay.
He has heavy things. Why would you say that?
I've got a granola bar.
Oh, that'll work.
Yeah.
Prefer
Okay.
candy, but
It's a little stale too.
oh shit. I'm just gonna wait for
what was
this
I
all
talking
show.
about?
I'm sure. it wasn't.
Attribute.
Okay. Don't attribute. don't put meaning to this that may not actually be there. Okay, so what I mean is that
Right.
what you actually said here is you kind of summed it up with a quote saying you aren't worth my time anymore. Just be careful with that because that may not be the case, right? That may be how you feel, and that's a valid feeling, but that may not actually be a reality. People, as we get older, sometimes our interests change and we just kind of stop associating with some people because, and maybe it's not anything bad. It's not like we have to stop associating with them because they're unhealthy for us or we just don't like them anymore. Sometimes it's just because we have less in common.
Yeah.
And sometimes people just grow apart. So that doesn't necessarily mean that you aren't worth their time. So just be careful with that because if you continue with that line of thought, then you may put too much of this on you.
It could also just be innocent.
Exactly. It may not have anything to do with you. You just may be, unfortunately, just feeling the effects of it.
Yeah.
I agree with that.
Make sure you're right sizing what's actually happening.
I'm going to take the other perspective. So I've had a patient in the past, thank you, who was talking about friends pulling away from them. And like they were kind of doing an autopsy of that, but they were sort of oblivious to some areas of themselves that they needed to work on. And so they were having situations where people were pulling away, and I was in this person's life long enough that we were noticing this pattern. And so we talked about it. And like I generally defer to support, cheerlead, hey, I'm sure you're fine. But the person became willing to take a look at that. And I said, okay, you know what? Let's study this together. What social criticisms have you heard in the past? Let's think back. Let's really go over the game tape. What do you notice? Because maybe these people, some of them, are voting with their feet. You know, and sometimes we don't think that. We think, oh, the person at the bar just scooted away from me because they have something else going on. It's like, am I being too loud? Like that might be a thing, right? And so we need to do some social examination sometimes. That can be
No,
healthy.
I agree. Yeah.
If it can be done in the right way.
Yeah. I think, and again, like, I think that's a good example of doing so in a non-judgmental way.
Right.
You know, because I wouldn't want you, we all need to be aware of this.
Self-examination.
Yeah. I mean, everybody
growth.
should be self-aware.
Yeah.
Like, oh, everywhere I go, people distance themselves from me.
Most
Maybe
people,
it's something
that's
I'm
the way they're
doing,
going to send
That
the
sounds
signal.
great.
Yeah. How do I get that all the time? Because I think most
I'll stop
adults
showering.
are not going to give you that feedback. They're not going to say, hey, man, you smell a little ripe, you know, like, or whatever the social problem is, or, hey, man, sometimes you're super negative, or, hey, man, sometimes you have to, like, one-up me with every single story you tell, and, like, it's discouraging. A lot of people don't want conflict, and so they'll just be like, okay, and they'll just, like, slowly quiet quit you as a friend, and you'll be like, what the heck? I thought we were cool. I used to like hanging out with you, and like, yeah, I just don't look forward to it. And it's like, oh, what? And so I don't know, Reese, like, there's always that possibility in adult relationships that people just fade away slowly. I do want us to be open-minded to looking at ourselves and our situation, asking those hard questions. Is there any pattern? Have I ever been told that I'm a thing one way or another? And can I examine that just to make sure that I'm not pushing people away?
Yeah. If you can do that in a kind, non-judgmental way to yourself, I think that would be very helpful.
Yeah. And sometimes that is something you do in therapy. You know, you could talk to that person about, hey, can you hold up a mirror and talk me through this? And, you know, I think that there can be, you know, there's always a polite way to spin it, right? Because, and a lot of times what you're discovering is that some people, you're not their brand of coffee, you know, and then other people, they love that. And that's fine, you know, like whatever. If you're a quiet person, some people might be like, oh, I kind of wish that you were a bit more lively. Other people are like, this is perfect. This is my speed, you know? So you never know. Same thing if you're an extrovert. So Reese, I don't want you to be self-critical about it. I'm open to you being self-examining about it. I don't know what your people are meaning by boundaries and then ghosting you. I don't know if that means that they are trying. I mean, if they're announcing it online, it sounds just pretentious. But if you're noticing a lot of your social circle doing this, that's the part that stood out to me in the question. And when I see a bunch of your social circle doing this, then I go, okay, let's make sure that we haven't done anything to offend or like there's anything we're doing. Like if you're currently running an MLM and you're trying to contact all your friends to incorporate them to start their own businesses and be their own boss.
Multi-level marketing. Okay,
Yeah,
that took a second.
Yeah, if you're currently doing something like that, Reese, and all your friends are drawing boundaries and pulling away from you,
That's a hint.
It's the problem. Yeah,
Or-
you're the problem.
Or if all you ever talk about with your friends is pod therapy.
That would help. Yeah, that also is
would-
a reason that you'd lose a lot of friends.
Probably.
You shouldn't mention the show to anybody.
I wouldn't. No, I wouldn't stop doing it.
No, we need the patrons.
Yeah.
But
we could
do it for the listeners.
we could sure use the
You don't
listeners.
need as many friends as you think
Yeah.
you do. We need more listeners than we have. There's a polite way to do this. Reese, good luck on this. It's a relatable question. I hope it's something that continues to resolve. I hope you continue to broaden out. Make those, friends. There's always more people to meet in the world. We are going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to talk about confronting my guilt and fear. You're listening to Pod Therapy.
Today's episode is brought to you by Ben, Dawn, Aaliyah, Richard Macy, Newstick, Polygon, University Jeff, Samantha Cone, Thunder Cougar, Falcon, Scoop, and Sunny Boy. Would you like to sponsor the show? Become a therapy producer at patreon.com/therapy. All right. We got some more Myra questions.
Ooh,
All
last
right.
time was the Scotland golf course.
Yes.
Yep.
Hello, gents. Seeing as we are all about the same age, I thought I'd send some blast from the past questions. These questions all relate to ABC's TGIF programs, specifically the original run from September 1989 to September of 2000.
Damn.
Each question has one hint. We won't need the hints.
Yeah, I'm going to
Come on.
crush this.
Come on.
Yeah,
There's 7 questions, so we'll do 3 at each commercial break
I like it.
with a tiebreaker at the end. This TGIF show...
I'm gonna lose this, by the way.
Are you?
What?
I think
you think
so.
so?
I think so. I was never a
Oh.
TGIF fan.
Have some fun. Show you
Oh.
how it's done. TGIF.
Okay. This TGIF show was set in San Francisco and centered
Oh,
around a
come
widow
on.
and
Done.
their 3 kids.
Done. Got it.
Yep.
Done.
It is, of course, Jim.
Step by step.
No. It is Full House.
Oh, widow or widower?
It says widow, but
Oh, well then that was misleading because in Step by Step the mom is a widow and she marries the dad and they have a blended family.
are they in San
Does
Francisco?
she have 3 kids?
Then I'm
in San
definitely going to
Francisco?
switch it back over.
Are they in San Francisco?
Yes.
Huh?
That's
maybe
why
it's,
it was a
maybe it's
big-
step by
that's
step.
why it
Give
was
it.
go-
Give us the answer.
I don't
It
think
is Full
so.
House.
Yeah,
Oh, there
Full
we go.
House. Yeah.
So-
But I object to the question. Widower would have
Don't
been
care.
correct.
We'll continue under your protest.
Thank you.
That's 1 point for Ward, Nick, and I.
You didn't even guess.
Oh, they had a
Oh,
hint.
it was Full
There's-
House.
You son of a bitch.
I knew that one.
Yeah. Okay. Let's see. One of the original TJF shows, this sitcom centered around a posh English butler and the American family he works with.
That's familiar.
I got it.
I
It's-
have an idea, but the show I'm thinking
It's just
of,
the name.
I don't think
It's
it
the guy's
is.
name.
It's the guy's name. I've got it.
I was going to say Mr. Belvedere.
That's
it.
it.
It's Mr.
That's
Belvedere.
it's,
Is
it's
it?
Mr.
Yeah.
Belvedere.
I didn't,
Yeah.
but I don't associate that with TGIF.
I don't either. That's got to be really early TGIF.
It is Mr.
Yep.
Belvedere.
Mr.
There you go.
Belvedere.
So far we have not used any of the hints.
All right.
All right. This show was the story of Larry and his European cousin Balky as they share an apartment in Chicago. I know this one. Oh shit. Oh yeah, now I remember it. I remember it now. Okay.
Larry and Balky?
I mean, I can
Yep.
picture it.
And
Yep.
they live in Chicago?
Yep, they share an apartment.
European cousin.
What's the
Yep.
hint?
Yeah, I
oh,
need the
hints.
hint.
Okay. I'll tell you, I don't need the hint. I already know it.
Okay.
But
Whoop-de fucking do.
Yeah.
this
you're-
perfectly
you get
timed
better than us.
series shows how relative strangers adapt to living together in a big city.
Perfect strangers.
Yes.
Wow.
Yep. It is Perfect Strangers.
I needed to hear the word strangers.
And perfect.
Yeah.
They're both.
That's-
I didn't
Very
even hear the
solid.
word perfect in the hint, truthfully.
Very
I
solid.
just needed to hear the word strangers.
yeah.
All right. Round 1, we're all tied. All right. Here
How
we
are
go.
we all tied? Not true at all.
Confronting my guilt and fear from Leslie.
Jim is -1.
Yes.
That's not how I heard it. Hi, Jim, Nick, and Jacob. My grandpa is in a lot of pain that cannot be fixed and is losing his ability to walk and take care of himself every day. This is definitely taking a toll on his pride, and it's putting a lot of effort on my mom and aunt to take care of him. I feel guilty all the time, not doing more to help, and I always feel like a bad person for not being more for my family. I know I would feel this way no matter what level of involvement I had. Can you talk about ways to alleviate this guilt and expectations of being there for someone or doing more for someone, or am I right to feel like a dirtbag of a human? A second question, sort of but not really related, is I am horrified by the lack of help and mental health for elderly in the U.S. I'm an only child with no children and no family. My grandpa has us, but I may have no one and no money to be there for me when my health deteriorates. Is there a way to manage this fear? Do you have any insight to whether it is not as bad as it seems? I was the health advocate for my dad when he was in the hospital, and without me, his mental health and health would have been significantly worse. Thanks for all you do, Leslie.
Okay. Thank you, Leslie. I've got thoughts on the second question.
How shitty the system is and trying to navigate it?
Yeah. I mean,
Well,
but
I'll
let's
go
start
into
with
that.
the first one.
Okay.
Let's start with the first one.
I was going to suggest start with the one that you have thoughts on, but never mind.
Let's do it your way. I like this
No.
brave new world.
I like my thoughts to simmer for a little
Okay.
bit.
All right.
And
Let's
then
let it
process.
percolate.
Yeah.
So he punts, and he'll take it on the second.
All right,
half.
I'll dive in.
Dive
yeah,
in.
dump in there.
A couple of years ago, my last like close, not quite immediate family, but right outside immediate family member passed away, and that was my uncle, my dad's oldest brother, a few years ago. And I went down. I was able to get down. He lived in Louisiana, and I was able to get down. What we thought was days before he was going to pass away. It turned out to be a few weeks prior to him passing away. And they had, hospice care set up in his house and all this kind of stuff. He'd been in the hospital. And I went through a little bit of this. I went through a little bit of kind of thinking about this, like, I should be more attached to the family and everything and taking care of these things. And I get those feelings from time to time because I live on the other side of the country from my closest relative who is not my wife. And so that comes up from time to time. I think that's just normal.
Yeah.
I think just having those kind of feelings of guilt, it goes along with feelings of helplessness. It goes along with all these things. I think that's just perfectly normal. And to keep on my roll here, I think your feeling of concern that you're not going to have that help when you are in your later years, I think that's pretty fucking normal too.
Yeah. Well, it is a broken problem.
And I'm there with both of you, but
Yeah.
with both of those issues, by the way. I mean, I've got no kids and no plans to have kids.
Right.
This is why we're so nice to our nieces and nephews because like hopefully they'll do something.
That's an investment strategy.
Yeah.
To make sure somebody's watching out for you.
Yeah.
That's a scary window of
Like your
time.
Uncle Jacob got you another credit card.
Yeah, that's right. Don't forget about that time.
Yep.
Did that thing in that place. I took it with me to the grave.
Well,
Remember when I bailed you out of jail?
That's
Yep.
right. In Tijuana.
That's what I'm really hoping that at least
Somebody
one
gets
of my
arrested.
nieces or nephews
Yeah.
get arrested and I can go bail them out of jail
Yep.
and keep it secret from their parents.
Oh, yeah.
So they'll just owe me for
You.
forever.
That's
that
right.
is a good card to hold on to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or to
And
have
I
the
tell
only
them that
video
specifically.
evidence.
I'm like, when you go to jail,
Yeah.
you call Uncle Jacob.
I'm the guy. I
Uncle
will
Jacob
do-
is the family member that will
Better
come in.
call Saul. Yeah.
I'm not going to ask you those uncomfortable questions.
Nope.
And it's going to stay between us.
It's going to be an understanding.
Yep.
You are my insurance policy.
That's right.
I am your get out of jail free card.
You are my hospice care.
Need to bury a body in the desert?
I'm in.
I've got a pickaxe.
And I need my body buried in the desert at
Yep.
some point.
No,
That's right.
I can definitely relate to that too, in the sense that I'm a 2.5 hour plane ride from my next closest family
Yeah.
member, and that is complicated. And I think about that a lot too because my sister lives in the same hometown as my mom.
Mhm.
Now my mom is probably going to live forever because she's like in perfect health. My grandmother, her mom, is still alive.
Oh, wow.
She's
okay.
93,
Okay.
and like she just quit her bowling league like 2 years ago.
Wow.
Like,
But
so
not
she's-
the powerlifting.
Yeah,
No,
yeah,
no,
yeah,
she
yeah.
still does power.
Well, she was thrown out of the bowling because they were like, "That's it. That's enough.
Yeah.
These 300s are conspicuous, Margaret." Yeah, you're racking them up.
I mean, so they're probably going to live forever. But
It
I
always
do-
throws me off when people my age have living grandparents.
I know,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
My last grandparent died when I was 15, I think.
Oh yeah.
And it is not part of my brain that adults have living grandparents.
Yeah.
I know that's
I-
me. Like
yeah.
that's
right.
that is a me issue and not an everybody else issue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm
But it
down
just
to
it
one.
confuses me every time.
I have
But
one
I mean-
living grandparent, and she was my adopted grandmother, so she was extremely young when she
Right.
became my mother's mother. So,
Oh, I see.
All the
Yeah.
biologicals have passed.
Yeah. But I think about that all the time. Like, if there ever is something that happens, it's always falling on my sister. Right. So
Sure.
at some point I feel like, okay, I need to, but I'm still around, I'll gladly help out as much as I can, whatever that means. But I do have some guilt about that.
Yeah.
And you know, for Leslie, I guess the big thing is, you know, are you offering support? Are you, you know, saying, is there any way I can help?
Right.
You know, doing whatever you can.
And
that
supporting
you're
the
able to.
supporters, I think,
Yeah.
is a big thing that's understated. Like, I've already told my sister, not it. This is your problem. You will deal with our parents. Even the one that lives in Las Vegas. That's still your problem. She's out in Nashville. Like,
Seems like a weird conversation to have.
Yeah, no, not really. It was pretty straightforward. But I have
You were setting boundaries with your sister?
That's right. I was setting boundaries and expectations really early. But I've told her,
I will not be helping.
I'm not going to help anybody, but I will support you. So if you take ownership of this, I will support you, which is kind of similar to how I've seen other generations do it in my family. Because I think that my mom was kind of like the I'm watching over mom kind of figure. Like she watched over my grandma, and she had like brothers, and her brothers were just basically like, I will cut checks. Like I will finance it. I will help you, and I will support you. Like, what do you need to make this easier if you're going to be willing to step up? So, you know, what I would recommend here as well is if you've got other family members that are kind of the hands-on part of the team, they're the ones doing it, which in fairness to you, my friend, you're describing their generation serving their parent, right? You'll be doing that for your parent. So I don't want you to embrace too much guilt here, but if you are feeling like, oh, there's more I could be doing, but like, you know, I don't need to be the first, you know, line that's up here dealing with this grandparent, then I would ask you, how can you serve those who are serving? And that's always a great fallback. Just saying, hey, you know, I know that you're going to grandpa's today while you're out of the house. I'm coming over. I'm cleaning your house. I'm going to do your laundry for you today. I'm going to do the dishes. And that's just my way of showing love to the whole family so that when you get home, some chores are knocked out. That way I've taken a little bit off your plate. Thank you for serving our grandfather. You know what? You're the better hands to do that work because you're his daughter. But just know that I love you, and this is how I'm showing that and cheering you on, you know. And that, by the way, is a huge support too. Sometimes just being present with a person and letting them just unburden themselves, letting them tell you how hard it is to care for this person or their fears, or letting them process how difficult it might be to watch a parent become feeble and, you know, and unhealthy. So all of those, I think, are serving postures. So having said that, we now return to the second half in which Nick now receives the punt as he deferred on the coin flip.
I mean, I kind of said for the most part already what I was going to say, which is just that I kind of feel for you, and I relate to that too in the same situation that Jacob's in. I don't have any kids. I'm not planning on having any kids. I'm not planning on my niece and nephew giving a shit about Uncle Nick. I think
you're fucking up there.
All right, listen, boys. There's a business opportunity here.
Here's the thing. They love me. They absolutely love me. I don't think they're going to go out of their way.
No, let's go another way.
It's like they're going to have busy lives.
Look,
I totally get that.
I got a business proposal for you two gentlemen. All right.
I feel like Jim's about to come up with the idea of nursing homes.
Yep. Here's my theory. I've got some kids. All right, and they're available if maybe you want to write some names in the will. You guys don't have any heirs. All right. So we just make a little agreement. You write your wills. They bequeath everything to my kids. My kids are at your bedside, patting your hand as you go into the cold, dark night. Huh?
Perhaps.
All right. We can even drop some terms and some conditions on this.
Now, what I will say to this
good deal
is I have, over the last 10 years, taken retirement way more seriously.
Oh, yeah, me too. Yeah.
And starting, you know, putting away whatever I possibly can into that and making sure that I am financially responsible today, so I don't have to worry about this so much in the future. I'm still going to worry about it.
Yeah.
But, you know, making sure that you're doing everything you can right now to deal with debt, to be able to put in any extra money that you've got away for retirement, for saving. Because I'm, you know, like for me, if I get to that point where I can't take care of myself, I feel like I would be perfectly fine going into a nursing home.
Like, honestly, I'd like to get into one now. I feel like that's a really good.
Kind of feels like going back to college.
No,
like in a
there's
way.
a whole
like,
TikTok about them. They're great. They're doing like games and stuff.
I know.
And like, you know, like, shuffleboard and bridge. I mean, that's honestly a cool Wednesday. Like, that sounds really cool. You just go to the cafeteria, get some pie. Like that's pretty awesome. So I think that's a good idea.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. I think we've,
So,
I think
I
we've
think
solved this
there's-
question. I feel like we've given 100% of what this person needed.
It is frustrating that there's not a whole lot out there, especially for like mental health for elderly. But you know, I am hopeful for the future that will get better.
Yeah,
for
and
whatever
it is a
that's worth.
very broken system. And that, by the way, we had a question, I think, last week or the week before, where there was somebody else that was dealing with this, and we were talking about the vacancy of care that exists at that end of the spectrum, you know, for mental health. And even that, like just getting people resources at the geriatric care level is really, really sparse. And like even getting Medicare coverage, like even if you get into the intricacies of like the lack of care providers, for Medicare up to I think they're still hammering out this bill. I don't even think the federal government has passed it yet. Like MFTs, marriage and family therapists, professional counselors, mental health counselors, all those other variations, none of them can take Medicare. Like the only two disciplines that can touch Medicare money are psychologists and social workers, which excludes an enormous part of the provider pool from a population that is at risk and needs extra care.
Yeah.
And so it's just it's amazing how much reform really needs to happen. And some of it's obvious slam dunk reform that's very easy to do. But that's standing out as like an obvious area that the population that has Medicare literally is excluded from a provider pool that other people have. So there's a lot of reform that needs to be done. It is really scary to think about. So, I mean, you know, I encourage you to support the supporters, do what you can where you can. Hopefully some of our systems in America can improve by the time that we're all at that age bracket, because we sure as shit aren't going to have any retirement money, and a lot of you guys didn't have kids. But my kids are available for hire if you are prepared to sign over your will. Very
But they get
decent
it.
rate.
We're not talking about just sitting by your bedside.
Yeah, that's all.
We're talking about doing the work.
No.
Yeah.
Then you're not offering anything.
Yeah,
All right.
we're talking adult
wait.
diapers.
We'll wait.
That's what-
It's fine. I'll just wait. And then the day will come and you're like, God, that bedside offer sounds real good today. And you know what? That's the day you just
Quit
sign
renting
up.
out your children to old people's beds.
Look, man, they need a
See, when I
retirement
phrase
plan.
it that way, it sounds different, doesn't it?
Yeah, slightly. You're right, though. I think my business model should change. I think I'm coming at you guys too early. You don't see the value of this. If I
Correct.
start just hanging out at the nursing homes, I could probably rustle up some business. So, all right, new approach, marketing strategy. Thanks, Jacob. You're always great
Sure.
for some business advice.
10%.
We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're talking about I'm tired of these motherfucking snakes on this motherfucking plane. You're listening to Pod Therapy.
Today's episode is brought to you by Ben Dawn, Malia, Richard Macy, New Stick, Polygon, University Jeff, Samantha Cone, Thunder, Cougar, Falcon, Scoop, and a Sunny Boy. And if you would like to sponsor the show, become a therapy producer at patreon.com/therapy. Next set of questions.
Perfect strangers. Also perfect strangers.
All the rest of them are perfect
Yeah.
strangers. An animatronic puppet series that aired from 1991 to 1995.
Oh, what was that called?
This show
I got it.
focused on the Sinclair
Yep,
family.
I got it.
So do I.
Is it just called
Not
the
the mama.
Is it just called the dinosaurs?
Yep,
It
it's
is.
dinosaurs.
Dinosaurs? There you go.
Yes.
Yeah, that
All
was
right.
a good one. Also, the Sinclair gas station.
Yep.
That's
Oh,
based on
yeah.
that. Yep.
Here we go. A spin-off from Perfect Strangers.
Oh, shit.
This show starred the Winslow family and their
Oh.
annoying neighbor.
That was a spinoff?
It was.
It was.
Whoa.
Yes.
I did
Family
not know that.
does indeed matter.
It does.
Family Matters.
Yeah.
Did I do that?
This witchy series regularly
Oh, I know.
regular guest appearances of our favorite magic duo.
Yep. I'll give you a hint.
Oh,
This
that's,
actress
uh,
once knew or explained it all.
Yeah, it's Sabrina the
Claire-
Teenage Witch.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
Sabrina the Teenage Witch. Man.
I didn't know
That
Penn
was-
and Teller did that.
That was after me.
Yeah, that was me. I
Yeah.
was more of the generation that had Sabrina. We had Family Matters. We had Step by Step. We had Boy Meets World. That was a big
That was
one.
after me.
Yep,
Yeah.
after me too.
Yeah.
Like Step by Step and Family Matters. That's
That's the overlap.
my
I
time.
think
Yeah.
that's the bridge between us, those two specifically. Sabrina, Boy Meets World, those were big ones too. Every
Yeah.
Friday.
Full House was the one that I watched all the time.
Full
Also, I
House.
missed most of these because we didn't have cable at my house until I was in 7th grade.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Yes, that came in a little bit late.
So we had just an antenna.
Mm-hmm.
We had
You didn't get ABC on an antenna?
No,
Yeah.
man. Did you not?
we probably did. Yeah.
Yeah,
you
but
this
we got
is on
like
ABC.
we got
NBC.
the networks. And that was it. Oh, I guess
Okay.
so. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm thinking of like the whole Saturday morning lineup.
Yeah, so
this
get
is,
out
but
of here
this
with
is-
your stupid
This
excuses.
is just the ABC one. I've gotten them all right so far.
Me too. We're all
That's
even.
not true.
Yeah.
That's how it is. Phobia of snakes from Anonymous. Hi, Pod Therapy Squad. You guys are the highlight of my week and have helped me
Gotta
so
do more stuff each week.
much. That's right. You have a very bad week. Thank you for all you do. I have a debilitating phobia of snakes, which has also sort of led to a morbid fascination of them. I'm terrified of them, all types of them, and I have nightmares every night with them in it. I can't even handle being around a toy snake. For a while, I tried to get over my fear and went to every snake museum I could. And if there was an opportunity to hold one, I did so while weeping. I have seen live nearly every deadly snake in the world. Rattlesnake, black mamba, green mamba, spitting cobra, fer de lance, etc. All of this seemed to just make my fear worse. I figure, know thy enemy. So I've learned everything I can about them, the types of venom, their behaviors, etc. I watch YouTube videos and Nat Geo shows about them. I do a lot of hiking by myself in snake country, basically everywhere. Through extensive research, I've deduced that I would have died or most definitely lost a limb if I were bitten on any of my hikes. I can't even really enjoy hiking anymore because I'm constantly thinking about a snake showing up. It was a matter of when, not if, that I would see a venomous snake in the wild. I came across a rattlesnake a couple months ago, and we stared at each other, and it saw into my soul. Every time I close my eyes, I see it looking at me. I tried to make peace with this animal and did research into spirit animals, hoping that seeing it in this new light would help. But nope, I kept spiraling harder and harder into this fear. What can I do to be able to still live my life without being so consumed by this fear? Boy, that's a big one.
I mean, you could move to a city.
Mm-hmm. Or Ireland.
Well, definitely don't do what I
Hawaii.
just did.
Hawaii has no snakes.
Yep, you move to Hawaii.
That's a solid. Yeah.
I just Googled fer de lance bite wounds.
Ooh.
Oh,
that's-
yeah.
Stay away from that.
Don't do
Yeah.
that.
That's some nightmare fuel. Okay.
Stay away from that island off the coast of Brazil, I
Oh,
think.
yeah.
They just refer to it as Snake Island.
Oh, God.
It's like multiple snakes per square foot.
Oh, no.
Is how many snakes there are on this island, and they have because there are no ground animals on the island anymore for the
'cause they
snakes to eat,
Oh, wow.
and so the snakes have learned through generations of evolution. Now there's some kind of pit viper. And first of all, only the most poisonous have survived on this island now. So like they're now all
It's just the
ultra,
Thunderdome
They're
of
all
fucking
ultra
snakes?
poisonous.
Oh,
yeah.
my
and
God.
like I said, remember there are there's so many snakes on this island. There are multiple snakes per square foot.
Oh, my
So, I mean,
God.
You literally cannot step without
Oh,
stepping on a
no.
snake. It's illegal. I think it's off Brazil.
Why have we not
Whatever country
nuked
it's off
this?
of, they say completely illegal for anyone to go there.
We do not need this island.
Uh,
We do not
the
need
way the
this
snakes
island.
survive is they climb trees, wait for birds to land on branches underneath
No.
them, and launch themselves downward at the bird,
Oh my
tackling and biting it.
God.
And the reason the venom is important, they're all so venomous now, they like immediately incapacitate the bird with their venom.
Wow. Holy shit.
It's some kind of like golden viper or something like that.
No. We don't
I
need
think
that
we
island.
missed we missed the boat with Sharknado. I think
Snake Island. Snake Island sounds like a
Yeah.
It is off
terrifying-
Brazil.
Oh.
Okay, so anyway, here's what's really interesting about this to the writer. The fascination piece.
Yeah.
Like, being that afraid, but yet there's no avoidance. Like the avoidance piece is what's weird about this
Right.
particular
Because you
phobia.
can pretty easily avoid snakes.
Well, yeah, but like exactly, but you're kind of throwing yourself into it.
Yeah.
Which is ironic because usually that's what we would prescribe. We would say, okay, let's talk about exposure therapy. We're
Mhm.
going to do delayed reaction processing. We want you to learn more about this, get close to handling them, and that would normalize the fear. But in this writer's case,
In a
it
way,
has not happened.
But I think part of why that maybe this hasn't happened is because we've talked about this before. There's a difference between just flooding, just throwing yourself into those environments,
Okay.
versus systematic desensitization.
Sure.
Right.
Yeah.
So because if you're doing this appropriately, what you should be doing is you're learning grounding techniques and healthy coping skills.
While you're in
So
it.
you manage the emotion and then you go expose yourself little steps at a time.
Yeah.
And then you practice bringing your emotions, your that energy, that anxiety.
Self-regulating.
Yeah. You learn to self-regulate that and you bring that down. And then you take a step closer, then you bring that back down, then you leave, then you
Right.
come back. So if you're not practicing that other half of it, all you're doing is basically torturing yourself.
Well, the morbid fascination thing is such an interesting hook to this because,
Yeah.
I mean, even as I'm hearing about how much, Ryder, you're fascinated by this and learning about this, I mean, obviously, one of the first pieces of advice, look at that and go, all right, I really would love to see you step that down, right? Because if this is haunting your dreams now and you're constantly thinking about it, then clearly you're giving your brain so much conscious attention of a subject that the unconscious is now running away with that too.
Yeah. And that was going to be the next thing I was thinking of too is, if you're consciously focusing on this so much, your brain doesn't really distinguish between like, I'm afraid of this and that's why I'm thinking of it
Right.
versus I like this and that's why I'm thinking of it.
Right.
From your brain's perspective, it's just constantly
It's
there.
just a topic. Yeah, it's
Right.
burned
It's-
in. Yeah.
Exactly.
It's
So
like you stare at a light bulb and then you close your eyes and look away and you still see the light bulb. That's
Exactly.
essentially it.
So when you go to sleep, of course you're going to dream about it.
Yes.
So I guess my first thought on this was maybe take a break from all of that,
Right.
and I realize what you're trying to do is you're trying to decrease the sensitivity
Right.
of this phobia, but ultimately I think what you're really doing is just kind of creating more nightmares,
Yeah.
because you're just flooding your mind with the thing that you don't want to be
Depending
thinking about.
upon how bad the nightmares are too, because this is something I think we've talked about a couple times over the last 6 years, but there are medicines that a psychiatrist might prescribe that might have to do with nightmares, especially if people have traumas or they really have a hard time sleeping. You didn't tell us that it's been difficult to sleep, but I mean, when you emphasized every single night, I get the impression that this is a factor. You might want to talk to your psychiatrist about that. You might want to Google and learn a little bit more about things like trazodone. Those kinds of things can sometimes be helpful with nightmares. Maybe that would be helpful, but I kind of go with Nick on this. I feel like we're engaging with the content so much that it's now drifting into every waking moment of our lives. But I kind of do relate with this idea of morbid fascination. So on Jim's Neurotic Bingo, there is a square for I have a weird, traumatic fear of hospitals. I was very sick as a child, and so at a very young age, I kind of was like dealing with, at way too young of an age, learned that I was mortal and like what death was, and then had to face the possibility of that. And so like that messed with me, and that was in a hospital, obviously, and I spent a really long time in my life for a kid in a hospital. Then I had family members in my household that also ended up in hospitals, and so I have a weird complex about them. I would like to never be in them. But being a healthcare provider and some of the roles you and I have been doing inpatient and stuff, lots of times we would have to go to hospitals and visit patients and be the hands-on component of that and do rounds and things like that. And so it's always been a very interesting, I kind of relate to the writer on this, where I've had that kind of dynamic where there is sort of this curiosity. There is this weirdness. It's surreal for me when I'm in a hospital. It's strange. It's frightening. But like I feel very aware and I almost feel like empowered in that moment. Like I'm here. I'm doing this. I'm not afraid. And like it's always this very weird thing. But then it's also very triggering. And so like I can face the fear, I can go, I can perform, I can do what I need to do. And that is very interesting. And I don't feel like I'm in a hurry to get out of there, which is like the weird morbid curiosity part, is like I'll float around and talk to people and I feel very comfortable while I'm there. And then afterward though, that's when the fears come back. And that's whenever I feel like flooded again and like, and then it's in my dreams and like then I'm flashing back to scary things. And so that I relate to this. And I mean, I've become kind of avoidant, honestly, and I found that that's more helpful. But like, all of these are very difficult things to tackle because there's not a clean, way to just cut this thing so it drops out of your brain.
Yeah, I guess I can kind of relate a little bit to the curiosity piece of things that I'm afraid of. You know, like I wouldn't say I have a phobia of snakes, but I don't like snakes.
Oh, fuck snakes.
Yeah.
No, I am anti-snakes.
But I will look at like
I want
if
a
there's
compelling argument for why they're not extinct.
if
like,
there's
why
like
can't we just eliminate
if
them?
there's a National Geographic thing on it, or you know any of those BBC nature things, like I'll watch that.
Yeah, me too.
And it's like
Like,
really
yeah.
interesting.
Because
you
they'll be
know?
like the 10 most
Yeah.
deadly thing, and I'm like, all right, you know.
It's always interesting too, you know, because the writer talks about like seeing that rattlesnake and like it's staring into your souls.
Which it did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there are animals that do that just have that look.
Yeah.
That like
Snakes are nature's abyss. You
Animals
don't stare
with-
into the
animals
abyss.
with those
The
different
abyss
kind of
stares into
eyes.
you.
yeah.
It's
Oh,
freaky
yeah.
to see an eye that is built differently than our eyes are built.
Yeah, that's what it is.
And like some
Yeah.
reptile eyes they're so different from human eyes.
Sharks.
Sharks, oh yeah.
Sharks, when they swim past and they're just
Yeah.
looking at you with that big, huge eye that they got, and it's just like
Yeah.
dark.
Yeah.
and
Oh yeah, just
that's-
that big dilated like
Yeah.
what?
Yeah. and
Sometimes
it's just
cats
like,
are weird too. Or goats. Goats have weird eyes.
Goats?
Yeah, man, they have like weird square eyes.
All right.
It's like a thing.
Okay.
It's totally a thing, isn't it?
I
Like
guess.
some
I
kind of
mean,
weird
yeah, I
goat
can't
thing.
say
Or is
you're
it
wrong.
sheep? Some weird.
Sheep. I
Is
think
it bighorn sheep? There's like a weird sheep that has
Yeah,
like
no,
square
I know what you're
eyes.
talking
Oh,
about.
I don't know.
Super creepy. Yeah.
Alligator eyes were always weird to me as a kid.
Yeah, I think reptiles
yeah.
in general are just
Yeah.
bad.
Alligators also, if you go out into a swamp at night with a flashlight and you just shine the flashlight around, alligator eyes glow red at
Oh.
night when you hit
What?
them with a flashlight.
Oh wow.
It's real easy to find
Wow.
alligator out in the swamp at night.
Oh yeah.
Oh, that's creepy.
Yeah.
Oh god.
So
Everything
they got
about
that
it.
going for them too.
Yeah.
So there you go.
Not to mention
writer.
they've been
Think
around
about
for
that.
millennia.
Yeah, you don't need to be afraid of snakes. Have you
There are
considered
much worse
that
things.
alligators have glowing red murder eyes in the middle of the dark? That'll help. Also, I think I figured out why you're having the nightmares. Is your air conditioning like having a hissing sound? That might be a thing. I'm gonna check your fans and it's something.
I mean,
that's
it's
like
so
rattling
it's
and
so
hissing.
interesting to me because like I grew up with snakes. I grew up in around swamps and everything, and like they just don't bother me. I always knew to not fuck with them,
Yeah.
especially like those water moccasins and stuff. They're
Oh,
super
God. I
aggressive
tell
and
you, I
poisonous.
stepped on one of those ones.
Oh yeah,
Oh, it's terrifying. See, that's what scares me about snakes. If I know there is one and like we're all looking at it or something to that effect, like at a zoo,
yeah.
I'm fine. Then I'm studying them and I'm like, oh, what an interesting thing. Look at the thing. But what scares me about snakes
Then you feel
is,
really good in your top of the food chain
yeah,
position.
yeah. When they're in their little glass prison,
Yeah.
I'm good with it.
You're like,
okay?
I am still
Stay
in my
your
place
space.
on the food chain.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm sitting here, drinking a Sprite and watching you in your prison. Then I'm fine. But when they are out there in the world, what terrifies me is how they just pop up. Like I remember, oh God, Jacob's now putting up pictures of alligator eyes.
Ooh, I don't like that.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
I know, the vertical eye slit is freaking weird.
Yeah.
I remember my buddy in high school lived out in kind of the outskirts of town, and one day he had a one of those houses where there's like a little entryway that leads to the door. Like you go through a front door, and then it's like an outdoor courtyard. It's a little
Oh yeah,
courtyard.
yeah.
You know what I'm talking
That
about?
was very popular in Vegas for a little
It
while.
was, yeah. So there was like a little courtyard.
There are,
and then you get to
there are
the front
random
door.
neighborhoods in Vegas where all of the houses are
That was
suddenly like
the
that.
style.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you have like
So-
a 15 by 15 foot area
Yes.
between a gate
You
and
put
your
like
front
a
door.
chair out there.
Yeah.
Or there's like bedroom doors that face into the courtyard, and you like walk through the courtyard to just skip the house.
The only time I've ever seen that be used, I think, well, is a friend of mine has a house like that, and he's an avid cigar smoker.
Oh, there you go.
And so that's a perfect cigar smoking area.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's the center of the entire house
Yeah.
area. So we're walking through his little courtyard. I slept over his house. We hung out. It was great. Then we're leaving the next day, and we open up the front door. He steps out. I go to step out, and curled up next to the door, a rattlesnake. And so he stepped right over it as he was exiting the house first. And then when I went to step, the thing reared up its head.
Your friend alerted the
get-
snake to
yeah,
your presence.
Yeah, it pissed. Yeah, it was scared of him because he just drops down right next to
Yeah.
it. So it's like, whoa. And so it's popping up and shaking its rattle as he's like walking away from it. And I'm like about to step on it. And like I fall back and then he turns around and we're both seeing this thing. That's the shit that scares me about snakes.
Yeah.
It's like They're just stealthy. They're
Well,
just
that's what-
They're
there.
like children.
So that's
Yeah,
the thing.
they
Like,
just pop up out of nowhere,
You step
hold
on them.
your hand, and welcome you into sweet death's
you
embrace
ever watch?
for the low cost of your life's will. I
Mm-hmm.
don't see why this is a bad gig.
You ever watch Outdoor Nevada on PBS?
No, what's that?
Oh, you should watch it. It's
I
really-
would love to
Oh,
watch that.
PBS has the
Yeah.
greatest shows.
Oh, I'm
Outdoor,
a big fan, but I didn't know there's a Nevada show.
Yeah, Outdoor Nevada. It's like
Oh,
every.
cool.
It's
There's
every,
a magazine, Outdoor Nevada.
Yeah,
I've
it's
seen
the
that.
same. It's the same thing.
Okay.
So it's like every Saturday. It's after after Rick Steves.
Okay.
So anyway, or maybe before, but doesn't matter.
Yeah. Outdoor Nevada.
Every once in a while, he's got like a snake expert on there, and they're out, in
we
rural
don't have
Nevada,
a lot of
whatever.
snakes in Nevada, but we
No,
do have
but
rattlesnakes.
yeah, and so like
And sidewinders.
the thing that's always funny is, or not funny, but interesting is like these guys who are intentionally trying to find them
Oh.
have trouble finding them.
Yeah, but
Oh,
then
sure.
me,
Yeah,
I
'cause
almost
it's like-
I've stepped on 2 in my life.
Exactly, Yeah.
Yeah, like
You know,
what the
it's
hell?
But it's like, but like that's the thing. Like for the majority of cases, the snake knows you're there before you know you're there.
Right.
Right. And so it doesn't want to be.
Well, they have
seen,
that soul
right?
vision too.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
How they can see into the future.
Yeah.
That's creepy too.
Yeah.
But no, like my thing too, like same thing. Like I used to, it's been a long time, but I used to go like scrambling a lot.
What's that?
So it's like,
Breakfast
it's like,
making?
it's
with
like,
pigs?
no, it's like rock climbing, but like you're only climbing high enough where you still feel comfortable falling.
Okay.
So it's like bouldering. Okay. So it's like, you're kind of up on the rock and you're
Rock
climbing.
climbing,
up,
less
but-
gear.
Yeah.
There it is. Okay.
Yeah.
So just
Yeah.
climbing.
But I think about that every once in a while because, like I go out to like Red Rock or whatever and, I'm reaching up, putting
Oh,
my
and you're like,
hand
what
up
if there's something up
someplace,
there?
and like I can't see where my hand's going.
Oh,
So
Lord.
I just, but I think about that every once in a while. Not enough, I guess,
Yeah.
because I haven't stopped doing it. But
So there was a guy I knew when my son was in Cub Scouts. This guy was another dad in there, and he's a paramedic, and he worked kind of in one of these government sites that are off in the desert. It's not like top secret classified, but it's like a military facility. It's off in the desert. Well, it still has to be served by public paramedics and stuff like that. So they have a station that just serves this particular area. So they have a helipad that he'll have to drive out to whenever there's going to be like any kind of movement or whatever. And so he was telling me about how he moves his ambulance out to this helipad sometimes. And it's the weirdest thing because this really happens. Apparently the helipad concrete gets really warm in the sun. And so
Oh.
like in certain seasons when the snakes aren't hibernating, but they dislike the cold, they mass onto this helipad.
Oh, yeah.
And he's like, dude, we can't drive the vehicle because we'll just squish them all. And I'm like, you should be doing donuts. And like, obviously, I don't see what the problem is. Like, you cover this thing in napalm and just burn them all out one time. Like Indiana Jones, that shit, like gasoline and flame. But, so I think that we've definitely helped the fear of the writer. I think.
yeah,
it's,
did we say anything? I'd say take a break.
Yeah,
Definitely take a break
yeah.
from your focus
desaturate
on
that
it. Yeah.
content.
Give
if you
yourself
can.
yeah.
Also, to beat nightmares, one of the things I do is I listen to podcasts before I fall asleep. Like, I have several that are just like my go-tos that are just descriptive and nice. Like, I listened to one called Science and Futurism with Isaac Arthur, and I really like him. He posts like an audio essay where he talks about the future. And it's be like, what would it be like if we colonized asteroids? And then he just like talks about it for like 45 minutes. And I just love it. So,
Well, there you go.
that helps me fall asleep. So
All right.
I always fall asleep to like some nice idea of like, this is us exploring the universe rather than, snakes. But now you put snakes in my head, Ryder. So I have that to look forward to.
Excellent. Thank you, Ryder.
End of the show. Do you want to do the tiebreaker now or
Oh, yeah, let's do it.
yeah?
Okay, let
Since
me-
Nick and I are
yeah,
tied.
yeah, yeah.
Since we're all even Steven.
This 60-minute show completed the TGIF lineup from 1986 to 2001. It was a
Huh.
perfect vision of a television news magazine.
Huh. Television.
I mean,
Is it
my guess is 60 minutes.
Yeah,
I
but that's
feel
not
like it-
TGIF, right?
It would complete
I don't know when
it.
60 Minutes came on.
I don't
And
either.
It was a
coming up
once-a-week
tonight
thing.
is 60
It may
minutes.
have been Friday.
I'll bet you it. But ending in 2001?
That's the part that's throwing me off.
It's still around. 60 Minutes is one of the longest running shows.
Oh,
on
here's the
television.
hint. It's not 60 Minutes,
Thanks.
Oh.
and it's not Dateline.
So it's a news
Oh,
show.
To Catch a Predator. No.
Right after the kids line up.
Yeah.
You perverts. They're just warring you.
I have no idea.
An hour-long news show, not Dateline. Not
2020?
Maybe.
That's my answer. 2020.
Or like Inside Affair or whatever. Like, is
Current
it a
Affair?
scary show? I don't think it could be a scary show.
I have no idea.
What
I don't even
popular
have a guess.
ABC news show was there?
It's got to be 2020.
Yeah, I feel like you're probably in the right. Or maybe like, couldn't be like Ricky Lake or something. That's not a news
That's
show.
daytime.
Oh, yeah, that was
Maybe
daytime
daytime.
TV.
Man, what ABC? I mean, ABC didn't. Jimmy Kimmel? Could Kimmel come on? No, he'd be every night.
And he's still on.
And he's still on. And I don't think he even got started until like mid 2000s.
And that was just late night. Like he's late
he's
night.
just there late night. I guess 2020. Yeah,
I
you're
mean,
probably right.
That's a better guess than anything I've got.
I mean, it's gonna be something adjacent to that.
It
What's the
is
answer?
2020.
Oh,
Wow.
Nick wins.
Boom.
Well, I feel like we all.
A rare win for Nick.
Rare.
Weird that we went on.
Yeah,
a
because
And
I
Jim
never
and
get
I-
to play.
And exactly.
Yeah.
You usually make up the questions.
Yeah.
Thank you, Myra.
Oh, those were really good.
Thank you for this W.
That's what it shows is when Nick does get to play, he usually wins.
This is true.
Boom.
As we wrap up the show, I want to remind you that if you sign up at patreon.com/therapy, you can get the extended show ad-free a day early, as well as enjoy our live chat Discord community and our weekly deep dives, interviews, skill shares, and research roundups.
I did listen to this one today.
Yeah, so the one that releases this week, as you heard, we release all this extra stuff on Mondays. And Nick and I now, for, several months, have not missed a Monday.
We have not.
Every Monday, we have new content coming out.
And no one is
exclusive for
more
Patreon.
surprised by that than me.
Yeah, honestly, yeah, close second is me. But the content that I released this week, I did a really great interview with a therapist in our community, Dr. Monique Quiros, and Dr. Monique specializes in working with sex workers. And she took us into a great conversation about what it takes to work with that population and some of the unique realities that they face. It was fascinating. She's brilliant. And so all of her information is also on our socials if you'd like to interact with her. She's a great follow on Twitter and just a lot of fun. But yeah, that's a great listen. So highly recommend that. But every week, we've always got new content.
I've got
that's
one
coming
coming out next Monday, that I'm really excited about because I kind of started to do it just as, I wouldn't say a joke, but just kind of, it's a review
Okay.
of a movie.
Yeah.
But it actually turned out to be a much better
I've kind of been digging reviews
content.
lately. Yeah,
Like,
I have a book review
It's actually
coming out.
really interesting.
Yeah.
So
It's kind of fun to do
I'm not going to
reviews.
spoil it.
Yeah.
But it'll be good. You'll
Every
like it.
Monday, there's new content up there,
Yeah.
so come check it out. I've got the list of theropods to thank as a first week of the month offering, even though that was technically, I think, the last episode, but
Yeah.
whatever. You want to thank all
We
the
were busy.
therapals or the new people there?
We got some new people. We got some new theropods. So thank you, LS. Thank you, Patty Glad. And thank you, Christopher Aguirre.
Yeah, I think you nailed that.
It's got to be.
Yeah,
It's got to
or
be.
it's Aguilar, but
No.
I think your words. are
There's
fine.
no L.
Yeah, who knows? Also, want to thank all of those folks that support us. Every month, we like to thank the theropods on up. So we talk about Dan Martin, Robert Paulson, Colin Scoopstronaut, Linda Brandmeier, Corey Owens, Joseph Pangrazio, Brad Kiefaver, Christine Phillips, Tracy Replogle, Gavin Bristow, Carrie Terhark, Stacy Westerlin, Richard Bruins, Scoopy Jess, Ian Whitefall, Kiwi Fruit Scoop, James K, Chelsea Saracen, Craig Little, Katie Chiwakowski, Don Dorr, Jim Hunter, Adam Rabiznik, Okie Scoop, Brooks Lyle, Matthew Nair, Todd Canfield, Take It Evie Podcast, Felicia Butler, David Sorensen, Shayla Bullock, Scoopatron, Lauren Izzo, Stacy Coleman, Adam Petanuzzo, Mats Lenegren, Heather, Scoopator Ascending, Ian Sotos, Jessica Cyphers, Charlie Quinn Starling, That Josh Guy, Dr. Scoop Little, Mama Ninja Scoop, James Dawson, Colson Morrow, Jacob Harrington, Lee Popsicle, Sarah Olo, Grumpy Lake Mead Park Ranger, Kiana Killjoy, Sam Buck, Karen McCulloch, Megan Smith, Kate with an I, What Weekend, Some Nobody, Tony Skiana, Lila, Be Gay, Do Crimes, Kelly Gagner, Nippy, Brian Emra, Drew Hellage, Alec Lancaster, Anna, Matthew Johnson, Keely Flowers, A Literal Pickle, Matthias Vanberbrand. That's obviously
Well
how-
done.
That's clearly it. James Hubble, Max the Ginger Scoop, Ken Tinsley, Hannah Marie, Chemist, Stacy, Protect and Scoop, Ulti Engie, Anana Nurse, dun, 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 dun. Jim Mills, Smells Funny, Cody Charrington, Brady Malachek, hey, my former student, Matt Kubik, Chad the Safety Lad, Walker Fluke, Philip Guyton, Tim Mystery, that's right, Almost Dr. Nurse Joey, Ilya Gribkov, Duffy the Slowly Getting There Therapist Bear, Nico, Christopher DeGursey, that feels right, Kirka Grimm, Irvin Santon, Samantha Santi, Trisha Ortiz, Brogan Hastings, Julius Capel, Amy L., Melissa L. Geisler, Al, Kirsten Johnson, Joel McMillan, Laura B., DJ Seward, Jeanette Ward, Mississippi Hippie, Matzer Cat, Tiny Home Travelin', Chris and Alyssa, Scott A., Patty Glad, Chris Conway, Christopher Agweir, you might be right, Fifi, and LS.
Are we going to have to change this up? This list is getting longer every time.
Nope. We'll keep doing
Ice
it
Blue.
forever.
Oh, thank you to our pterodactyls.
There you go.
Ice Blue Scoop, Brian Lehman, Scott Brady, Fred Bashara Jr., Andrew Anderson, Lindsay Bashara, Slurpikaye Motherfucker, Frozen, Cusser, Lori Altsroth, Ryan Stewart, Scott Ashlock, Robert Ward, Chris Cy Schnonigan.
Shawnigan.
God damn it! No, you know what? It's Schnonigan now.
Schnonigan.
That's what it is.
That's
all right.
fine.
I've
McWaffle
said
made
it every
peace with
time.
it. That's-
Sandra
other people will too.
McWaffle,
There you
Dank
go.
Butta, Andrew Langmead, Lovely Spark, Celeste Quintero, Pickett, and Kirsten Robbins.
Wonderful. Special thanks to our partner, Dirty B, and we want to thank our bosses, the mysterious and shrouded Illuminati members of the fan club. The Thera producers, thank you, Jake Schneider, Robert Brownie Jr., Mint, Smitty Scoop, Ben Dawn, Judy Schneider, Kayla Lansbury, Dr. and Mr. Hot Dog Scoop, Malia, Leon Kassab, Cindy Ash, Mason Miller, Richard Macy, Carolyn Albert, Kevin Chamberlain, Tess Miller, Newstick, Sammy Scoop, Ben Stanley, Slappin' Ya Face, Polygon, Sarah Smith, Adam Hathaway, Byler T, University Jeff, Mike Helm, Myra, Paris, Samantha Cohn, Darren Cunningham, Lib, Team Monaco, Thunder, Cougar, Falcon Scoop, Matt and Lisa Tangeman, Heyo, Oscar Swanrose, and a Sunny Boy.
And if you'd like to hear this episode uncut and unedited,
And why wouldn't you?
and enjoy our spontaneous side projects, go to patreon.com/therapy. And thank you for supporting mental health.
Hey, don't forget, March Madness is coming up. We got the brackets cooking. Smitty's getting it ready, so keep an eye out for that on the Patreon, where you can enter the official bracket, and maybe the winner will get to put a bumper sticker on somebody's car that isn't mine. That's all the time we got for this week's session. Want to thank
Definitely
our
a Jim's car.
landlords, Matt and Mattingly's Ice Cream Social Podcast. Thanks to all of you who contributed to the show today. We do appreciate it. Remember, pod therapy isn't something to keep all to yourself. Share this with someone who needs it. Tag us on the socials when you do. It's at PodTherapyGuys on Instagram and Twitter, /PodTherapy on Facebook, and the goodies are at patreon.com/therapy.
Do you want to
You were
submit?
good at this.
And
Do you want
nailing
to
it.
submit a question to the show? Ask anonymously at podtherapy.net or email us at podtherapyguys@gmail.com. I'm Nick
I'm a
Tangeman.
human-sized snake.
Thanks, and we'll see you for your appointment next week.
All right, you fight one man-sized snake or 100 snake-sized men.
That's not even.
Is that not as scary?
Yeah, it's not.
Let me try again.
I'll
Let me
go
try-
with the 100 snake-sized men, please.
You don't want to just fight the one man-sized snake?
Yeah.
Yeah, me neither.
What
Fuck
kind of
that.
snake?
Oh. All right.
We talking about like a little, like men that are like the size of a little garden snake, or are we talking about like 12-foot long, 600-pound men?
Boa constrictors.
Oh, yeah.
Are we talking about like anaconda-sized men?
Anaconda men.
Because we can make this more concerning.
That is a really good follow-up question. That does
Yeah.
change things a little bit.
Yeah.
I mean,
That
either way.
changes everything.
Yeah, it changes everything. The calculus fundamentally changes. Also, the man-sized snake, is that poisonous? Because it doesn't need to be. And
Yeah,
also, there's already men-sized snakes.
I'm probably on board with just a man-sized snake.
I think so.
If I have to pick